Welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Trey. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking it out, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We appreciate you for being here. We've got a really good show for you this week. We've got Bryce Hampton, who was a defensive back for the Vegas Nighthawks last year in the IFL, but he's going to be playing in the CFL this upcoming season with the Toronto Argonauts. So got to chat with him about his football journey, what he learned in the indoor football world, and what he's looking forward to in Canada going to the defending Grey Cup champions. So really awesome conversation with him. So we got that coming up in just a minute. But before we get to that, we got to plug our socials. You know, that's what we do. So if you can please give us a follow at Off the Wall FB, F as in foot, B as in ball. We are on Instagram. We're on X/Twitter. We're on TikTok. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Threads. Trying a little bit of everything here to see what all these different apps are about. But if you could please give us a follow on each of those, that would be really great, and we'd really appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, hello, please make sure you're liking the video and subscribing to the channel as well. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please make sure you're going to the show page and rating us 5 stars, preferably. I think we deserve 5 stars, but hey, you do you. So make sure you're going and rating us there. And yeah, all that stuff helps the show grow and helps the show get in front of more people. And the algo does some algo things with all that stuff. So we'll also dive into some IFL and AF1 news after the interview. But let's not waste any more time. Here's the interview with Bryce. All right, joining us on the show this week, we have a 2024 All-IFL first-team defensive back for the Vegas Nighthawks. He's also a 2024 IFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he's signing on with the Toronto Argonauts of the Canadian Football League for the 2025 season. His name is Bryce Hampton. Bryce, really appreciate you taking the time to chat today. How's the off-season treating you?
Pretty good. Thanks for the introduction as well, but pretty good.
Yeah.
Just been grinding and staying ready to go here in May.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as I was typing that introduction out, I'm like, man, he's going to make me earn it. That's like a paragraph. So, but all those accolades were well worth it based off the season you had last year. So before we get too football heavy and talking about the ins and outs of indoor and arena football, tell us a little bit about your football journey and what ultimately led you to indoor football.
So my football journey was actually pretty long. I started off. I graduated 2017. Under recruited a little bit due to my grades.
Right.
I didn't really take school as serious my early on years. And then my last 2 years, I had to lock in. So I took the JUCO route, went to 2 JUCOs. At first, I was playing receiver. And for me, I like getting the ball and scoring and doing that stuff. And I wasn't getting that all the time. I just seemed like I was just at track practice, just running all the time. So I went to my second JUCO. I went to Snow Community College. I ended up switching over to DB, or really back to DB. In high school, I played both ways. Had my season in there. Then I graduated from there. And then I went to Adams State Division II in Colorado. Had played both ways in college there. Led the D2 in interceptions. Then I ended up hitting the transfer portal for my last year, expecting I wanted something bigger, an upgrade. You know what I'm saying? So to be honest, I wasn't expecting any Power 5. I was expecting D1s, maybe mid-level, lower. You know what I'm saying? But Purdue came and I took it and ran with it and played there my last year. I think I had about 42 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, a couple passes.
Very nice, yeah.
So then I waited, had a couple workouts with some NFL teams. Didn't work out how I wanted it to work. Well, it was a little process. I actually was supposed to go back to Purdue for my final year for another year, because I only played 3 years of college football. And I actually told me a week before pro day. So then I had to be prepared to do pro day.
Oh, geez.
Which I was getting prepared just in case, however it went, but just the timing of it was a little late. Did that, had some workouts with some teams, didn't work out. Expecting something from the UFL, didn't work out. I waited last minute, and I gave Coach Mike Davis a call, and he took me on a week before they had their camp, and from there it's been history. So
that's awesome.
Been a long journey, but it's all coming together for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool to see the stories of like you hear like the leadership of the IFL talking about being that league of development, but to
Right.
see it actually happen and being that window to the next opportunity is awesome to see. What was it like going from D2 to Purdue? Was it like as big of a step up in terms of like play on the field and like responsibilities off the field as it seems?
For sure. That was a big transition for me. Just taking that extra step up and getting to actually understand the game of football, the ins and outs, the formations, offense, defense, you know what I'm saying? Being at Adams State, nothing, it wasn't a bad experience, but I didn't get taught how I was how football is really supposed to be played at a high
Right.
level. So going to Purdue, going to class every day, having that long schedule on top of study hall, learning all the plays that I had to learn, um, weights, treatment, just figuring all that out was a hiccup at first. You know what I'm saying? It was new,
Right.
but for me, I like adjusting. I like adjusting to new things. I like new scenery. So it actually wasn't a big problem after I got in there in the spring. So once I got that going, everything started rolling from there for me. But the transition for sure was difficult, but I mean it's what I wanted to do and that's what I asked for. So had to do.
Yeah. It seems like the days were full. Like there didn't seem like a lot of free time mixed in there.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. When I got there in the spring, I was taking about six classes, six classes. So
Oh wow.
going
Yeah.
from Adams State to Purdue, the level of education was a very big
A
jump for
little bit different. Yeah.
when I got into my first class, I'm like, yeah, these kids are smart. These kids are smart. I
Yeah.
know they're talking and everything. So it was a good experience for me. I think I needed that for myself to not stay comfortable and to create a challenge for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about the friendship you have with Malik Hausman. I saw a story about how you guys play youth football together, and like, what role did he play in getting you involved with the Vegas Nighthawks?
So taking it way back, Malik was really my first best friend. Like that's like
Wow. Okay.
about 5, 6 years old when he moved out here. We stayed near each other, and we went to elementary school, middle school, and broke off in high school. But we always still had that connection due to just growing up with each other all the time, being with each other.
Yeah.
So just going to really how it really happened. I'm at work. At this time. I'm just working out. I'm like, damn, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm working at a Feature. It's a clothing store out here in Vegas.
Uh-huh.
It gives me a call and tells me, man, I'm gonna go play for the indoor team. You should come play. I'm like, man, I'm still waiting. I don't know what's gonna happen, but
Right. Yeah.
give him a call. A couple days go by. He said, "You call me yet?" No, 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 I haven't. I'm gonna call him now. I go on my break. I end up giving Coach Mike a call and just gave him my whole rundown and my whole story. And from there on, it was history. But it was a good experience to go back and play with my best friend and my guy, man. Me and him go way back. And then we won about three championships in Little League football with each other. Probably the best Little League team assembled here in Vegas.
Yeah. No kidding.
It was a good experience going back to play and having that time with him. I really enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, was there a moment where like maybe before the first game you guys are suited up and you just kind of look at each other like, here we are. Like 10 years later, like who would have thought?
Yeah, literally. It was almost every game and every practice we rode together. We still stayed near each other, so we always rode to practice together, rode to the facility. That was my partner when we stayed at away games. So it was always like, damn, we're really playing together again. This.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But yeah, it was a good moment for me and him for sure.
That's great. I can only imagine how cool that was, being able to live that just through an entire season. Like, yep, just me and my best friend playing pro football in our hometown of
Exactly.
all places.
Exactly.
And that's got to be so cool playing pro football in your hometown. What was that like? Like you were able to get like friends and family at a bunch of games, and like what was like that seems like it would be awesome. Best case scenario.
Yes, for sure. Going a lot of places like for college, going to Colorado, going to Indiana, Arizona. It was a little bit tougher to get my whole family to come to one game
Right.
and everybody's there at one time. But here, I mean, I had about 20 to 30 people a game.
Wow.
Support and show love. They want to see me play. Even friends that wanted to come to college games, they weren't able to make it, but it was easy for them to come to this one. So it was a good experience that I had for myself and for my family for them to be there and everything, for sure.
That's great. So Section 102 was strictly for your friends and family, huh?
Strictly for them.
That's great. Did you know about arena football growing up, or was that something you kind of discovered like post college when you're trying to figure out what's next?
I knew about arena football, but just growing up playing football, I'm like, man, I'm not really trying to play that. I'm trying to go to the NFL. My dream is the NFL.
Of course, yeah.
I kind of had the indoor game on the back burner till it was my last chance to show what I got. And
right, yeah.
And so I took the platform for what it was and did my thing. Did my thing with it. So I mean that I did see a little bit growing up. My trainer that actually I trained with, he's actually might know him, Tyson Poots.
Okay.
Arizona Rattlers. I think he's one of their all-time leading receivers there, I believe. So he tells me a little bit about it, but yeah, I didn't really understand the game till I got to Vegas and actually got to do it and got to play it for sure.
Right. And that I think that's a common theme with players that have been on the show in the past is like obviously it's not the end goal is not to play in indoor and arena football. Like you want to take that next step to the outdoor game, but at the same time, some tape is better than no tape. Exactly. So if you're out of the game for a year, that's not a great look. At least get something on tape to show that, hey, I'm still doing my thing out here. So and it obviously worked out for you.
Right. Yeah. Stay relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned Purdue. What was that experience like playing Big Ten football that final year?
It was probably the best experience I've had within playing sports. Going from 300 to 400 people a game to 90 to 100,000 everywhere I went. It was a good experience for me. I also was prepared for that. My whole life, I played with a lot of really good players. I mean, even still to this day, growing up playing with a couple names, I could give you Tate Martell, Tyjon Lindsey, Bubba Bolton, all just my friend group. Everybody was recruited big. So just playing against them and growing up, I didn't really have that fear of, I'm going to go Power 5. I'm about to play against this dude. I already had it in my head. So when I was there, I kind of felt like I should have already been there. I had a chip on my shoulder to prove everybody wrong.
Good. Yeah.
But it was a good experience, and I think it's something that I needed to elevate my play. I probably wouldn't be here now playing if I didn't go there, truth be told.
Yeah, that hunger to keep it going might not have been the same if you spent another year at Adams State. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but
maybe. Yeah, for
maybe. Sure. Yeah. So I want to talk about adjusting to the indoor game, specifically as a defender on the defensive side of the ball. I've heard a lot from the offensive side in past interviews, but don't really have a ton of exposure to that defensive point of view. Mm-hmm. Taking on the high motion man, let's start there. What was the biggest learning curve with that in particular as a DB?
As a DB, it's really the high motion. The biggest difference was somebody running full speed at you, and you're at a standstill. You don't get the motion. You don't get to move, or you can move a little bit, but they're literally running full speed. So I would say that was a big adjustment. But I think playing the indoor game as a DB makes you better for outdoor due to the small space and the small mistakes. You can't really make them in the indoor because everything is so small. Everything is fast paced. So I would say that, and the defense is kind of the same. You just have to have a high IQ and just think a little bit. Just think a little bit, and it'll all translate to some type of outdoor football that you've done. You just have to find those little details in the indoor and the outdoor and put them together. At least for me, that's what I did. I took a little experience from outdoor and try to understand the indoor like that, but it's obviously a different game for sure.
Yeah, and you want to think, but not think too much, because you have like a split second to make a decision on how you're going to defend this guy. Because, like you said, he's running full speed at you, and like, all right, here we go.
Exactly.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
So what was your biggest like oh wow moment when you were started playing in the IFL last season? Like, is there a specific moment from a game? Maybe it had to do with the boards, maybe it had to do with like like just the speed of a certain player or how it happened. Like, was there a moment where like, okay, this is different?
I would say when we got into camp and really actually guarding the motions my first couple of days, I'm like, damn, this is pretty tough. And then alongside Jerome Johnson at quarterback, you know what I'm saying, it's it's tough, but it also made us better and made myself better. But I would say for sure my first week of going against it was a oh wow moment for me, because it's like I've never played this. This is new. Coach, am I doing this right? I'm not really sure. So it was a lot of hiccups, and we're in the whole back end. We were all young. We're all rookies, so we're all kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
learning off each other and feeding off energy that we had to play and practice and all that for sure.
Yeah, and going up against that offense in Vegas last year every day in practice, it had to make some of the games feel a little bit easier because you weren't having to go up against Jerome in the flight, was it the flight club? Like, you're not having to go up against all them every single day. It's like, oh, thank God we just play a normal game. We don't have to go up against these guys.
For sure, yeah, for sure. Those guys, those guys. I still train with all those guys now, and they're really good.
Yeah, that's a good group.
I haven't seen a group of receivers right like that in the indoor game in a whole this season, except for ours. If for me, I can't speak on everybody else's standpoint.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like we had a very good group of receivers and offensive players that were well put together, due to the staff and everything. But it was a good experience to play against those guys, and good work every day, because I'm not seeing those type of receivers on a weekly basis on game day.
No, definitely not.
Mhm.
If you could tell, if like you could go back and tell, training camp Bryce, like who's never played the IFL, never played indoor football, one or two pieces of advice that you think would help the learning curve, help get you up to speed, what would be that one piece of advice that you would give the past self?
For myself as a DB, you're
Yeah,
asking?
yeah,
As a DB, stay patient and have good eye discipline. I think if you stay patient and have good eye discipline, everything will work out in your favor. Um, it's not that much that a receiver could do with that little space.
right, yeah,
So having good eyes and understanding receivers would be my best advice for a DB that's now entering the indoor game. It's not very much a receiver could do. I mean, it's quick game, or I mean, high motion is quick game or something deep. So
yeah.
it's that's the advice I would give you for sure for
Okay,
he's come to that.
okay. So you were able to make a pretty big impact pretty early. I think it was like one of the first games. I think it was against Jacksonville. You had a couple of, I think, two interceptions early on in the season. What was it about the game that kind of made things click? Like what made it work so well so early? Because usually it takes some time to really get into a rhythm and to have the type of performance you had last year.
I'd say for last season, my mindset was to my mindset might sound selfish, I don't know, but I just want to get the ball. I just want to get interceptions. I just want to make plays,
Yeah.
um, and really just do my job, do my part of what coach was asking me for the defense. So I mean, if we look back, I don't know how far you look back in history, but pretty much on all my teams, I've led in interceptions somewhere, somehow. So I've always had a net for the
Right.
football, and I think I just try to carry that with me everywhere I go, and try to get turnovers, or at least trying to make big plays to help my team win. So that was just staying disciplined and doing my job was the biggest thing for me, and having everybody else do their job, and then we're all work together as one. So I think that was the biggest thing for me.
So
Um,
it sounds like you still have a little bit of wide receiver mindset of give me the damn ball, but as a DB.
correct. I'm able to go get it myself. I didn't have to depend on don't have to depend on nobody else to.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you got tired of running cardio, so you're like, all right, I'm gonna go get the ball. I'm not gonna wait for you to give me the ball.
right. So, and having that mindset also helps. Also, just get the ball down, get
Right.
turnovers. You know what I'm saying? But like I was saying before, bringing that outdoor game of things to the indoor, like it's a different game, but a little bit of the details are the same if you understand football and watch film and really break it down.
Right. So something that I find really interesting with the indoor game is it seems like there's a lot of trash talk, a lot of smack talk between guys, between teams. Is there a specific player or a specific team where it was like, oh, the trash talk is good today? Like, was there ever a moment where like, all right, we're in it, we're in the mud now?
Um, the biggest game last year was the first time we played Bay Area at Bay Area. Um,
Uh-huh.
I would say the energy of that game, the trash talk, both the teams going back. It started fast and early, but I would say that was one of the biggest games, not just for myself of trash talking, but kind of pretty much everybody. I mean, we're kind of
Yeah.
all on the same page. We got everything rolling early, so that was a pretty fun game for us for sure. That I say a lot of the trash talk will come out, but if we're being honest, I mean, we trash talk all the time.
Right.
Like an every play thing. I would say the Bay Area and when we played San Diego, those two games
Yeah.
were yeah, a lot going on in those games between the
It
rest.
makes sense. Man, if only we had a couple folks mic'd up, some of the things we would have heard, huh?
Man, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I wasn't mic'd up.
Yeah. That's for sure. So tell me more about this the relationship you have with Coach Mike Davis and what was it like playing for him?
So my so when I gave Coach Mike a call, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know who he was. I've never talked to him, never heard of him or anything. So,
Hmm.
that phone call, he actually made me more comfortable to come out, go meet him, talk to him, and see what it was about. And then just going throughout the season, that's my guy. You know what I'm saying? And he trusted me, and I trusted him. We bumped heads here and there, but it was all out of competitive spirit and all about getting better. So it was a good experience with Coach Mike, alongside with Coach Chin, just learning the offense of game and
Yeah.
how they run their routes and what our offense is trying to do. So those two guys I enjoy those two guys and seeing them every day and them getting me better on a daily basis. It was pretty good for sure.
Yeah, that was one of the better coaching staffs in all the league, and you could tell like just based on how the team played last year. It's like, all right, these guys they didn't just recruit well, but they're getting coached up pretty well too.
Right.
It seems like he's a like a real players coach in a way, and he just does a fantastic job of recruiting great talent and kind of keeping some of that talent local, like you and Malik, for example. So it's cool to see some of these teams, not just in Vegas, but around the entire indoor and arena space, being
Mhm.
able to draw some of that local talent and make it like, hey, this is Vegas's team. Like we got some homegrown folks here. So
Mhm.
I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Coach Mike does do a good job getting guys in here and like you said, a player's coach. He'll talk to you. You could talk to him. He'll understand. You can go into his office at any time. I mean, I can call Coach Mike now. So, but yeah, it's a good dude, man, good
That's
dude.
great. So we mentioned at the very top, you're headed up north to Toronto this upcoming season, joining the reigning Grey Cup champs and the Argonauts. How did that opportunity come about?
So I've actually been talking to John Murphy, the GM, for about before the IFL season started. Um,
Okay.
and we were a little. I was gonna get on at that point before the IFL started, but they already had their guys already.
Mhm.
So he told me just to get film and to handle my business, and I did exactly that, and everything came forward,
Yeah.
came forward at the end. Appreciate my agent and Mike Davis helping me get in contact with Toronto and other teams to give me opportunities to get there for sure. And I just have to take care of my business on the field for it all to come together, and it did for sure.
Yeah, you certainly did your part, but this is going to be your first time ever going to Canada, right? Just heading up there and you're like, all right, here we go. We're doing this. What are you expecting heading up to Toronto?
For myself, my expectations, I just want to get down there. I want to learn the game, which I know there's some similarities between the indoor and the CFL. So just understand the game, what they're trying to do, and just be out there and be myself, be confident, trust my skills, and everything will fall into place how it does.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of those similarities. What do you think heading into the opportunity to play? What do you think you learned from the IFL that will benefit you the most stepping into the CFL next year?
Just the passing game will probably be a little bit different. The field is bigger. I know they run the ball here and there in the CFL, but I know it's a lot of passing going on. 80%,
right?
70%, 80% passing. So I would say it's just some similarities, or obviously the high motions. I know there could be more people going in high motion in the CFL. I don't have to face Jerome Johnson every day.
There you go. You got that. Yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
And just like I said, it's like I told you earlier, just being a DB and playing in the indoor game, your mistakes are very limited, and your technique has to be very sound. So I think that'll help me in Toronto to develop and be a. I mean, I want to be a key piece to next year's team.
Of course, yeah.
Hopefully everything comes together how it does, and it should. I mean, I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go now.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, I'm super excited to see what you can do. And yeah, at the end of the day, football is football. Like, some of the rules are changing here and there, but the basics are all right. This guy's trying to put the ball in the end zone. I'm trying to stop him.
Exactly.
It comes down to it. One-on-one matchups like that.
Literally, exactly.
So this has been really fun, Bryce. Really appreciate you hopping on here. Where can people follow you on socials to keep up with your journey and your CFL career coming up?
I'm mainly on Instagram, so you can just follow me on Instagram. It's Bryce Hampton 0.
Okay.
Is where you can find my latest stuff.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll link it in the YouTube description and the Spotify and Apple Podcast description as well. So last question before we get you out of here. Heading into Toronto, like they're the reigning Grey Cup champs. That opportunity to run it back with them, what does it mean to you to be able to go in to them as champ? Like, they're already champions, but to be able to learn from some of those folks that have climbed to the top of the mountain and then see what it takes. Like, what are you most excited for to learn from them in that aspect?
Just understand their standard of how they do things,
right,
and how they prepare, and how obviously they've won the Grey Cup multiple times. I mean, more than multiple, but a handful of times. So just learning the standard, how they do things down there, adjusting to their game, and just doing what coach needs at all times, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, corner, safety, wherever. Just need to get and how it gets done.
Let's go. Well, I look forward to seeing some interceptions next year, and I'm sure we'll see some highlight plays as well. So really appreciate the time, and we'll stay in touch. Okay.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Troy. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks again to Bryce for joining the show this week. Please make sure you go give him a follow on Instagram and follow his story. It's only just beginning, and I'm excited to see what he can do with the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL. He absolutely lit up the IFL last year with the Vegas Nighthawks. And if he can do even just a little bit of that in the CFL, he's going to have a very good career up there. So thanks again to Bryce for joining and talking about his journey. So we'll dive into some IFL news here. The main thing I wanted to talk about was a new partnership that the IFL introduced last week. It's called Snipback. So the IFL will implement Snipback's advanced suite of technologies, including real-time live stats, manual game charting, instant replay, piloted cameras, and AI-driven in-zone cameras. These innovations will set a new standard for indoor football coverage. So I think this is really good news, and I think it's something that you'll be able to better understand it when you see it rather than just reading about it. Because when you read those words, you're like, oh, that sounds cool, but how will it actually improve the product that I already know? I think once we get a week or two under our belt with this partnership and with it in full effect, I think we'll be able to better understand it. But the live stats is very important. Love that. Delivers up to the second data on player stats, team performance, and game-changing moments. I think this is huge, especially as they started to find their way in the sports betting world. And I'm sure there might be a fantasy football element of this, or being able to do like player props in the not so far future. That could be a thing with if this technology does what it says it's going to do. So stat tracking was less than ideal last season across the league. For the most part, the league did a decent job, or certain teams did a decent job at updating the box scores as soon as the game was over. But there were a couple of times where you'd go to check a box score a couple days after the game and there was nothing there. So I think getting this live to the second data, like it says, is going to be a big help with that. And then instant replay. It says this feature provides referees with real-time instant replay capabilities, enhancing the accuracy of in-game decision-making. The system supports multi-view playback, allowing officials to review plays from multiple angles. That's awesome to hear, because last year when there were challenges, you were kind of stuck with whatever angle you had. So if there was a play at the goal line, but the only camera that had a decent view of that play at the goal line was on the 25-yard line in the 200 level, and it was just zoomed in, that was all they had to work with. So if they have multi-view playback, like they said, should be able to make some better instant replay decisions, better reviews, better challenges, and really not let those 50-50, oh, I don't know if that was the right call, not let those determine the outcome of a game. Then the last part was super interesting to me, the AI-driven in-zone camera. So it says, Snipback's AI-powered in-zone cameras autonomously track plays, ensuring optimal framing and clarity without manual intervention. Utilizing advanced AI, these cameras dynamically adjust angles based on player movements, delivering high-quality footage to coaches, referees, and analysts for more informed decision-making. So AI has invaded the indoor football space, and it sounds like there's going to be less dependency on people actually manning the cameras at these games, which could end up being a cost saver and a headache saver for the teams individually. But high quality footage to coaches, referees, and analysts. Again, this is something that it seems like when we see it in action, we'll be able to fully understand it and appreciate the impact it makes. But it sounds like a great step forward for the IFL, and the instant replay capability, live stats, camera quality, all those things varied from arena to arena. Not to speak ill of the dead here, but Duke City wasn't great at all three of those. There were some arenas that they had a great display, but stats weren't always the quickest. You had other arenas, stats were like that, but the actual broadcast wasn't that great. So being able to level up all three of those things across the league, like it says it will, that's a great step in the right direction. And I'm looking forward to all the broadcasts and all the stat tracking and all that being leveled across the entire league. And that way, when you tune into a game, you know what you're going to get. It's not going to be dang, I have to watch this team. I know their broadcast isn't that good. All that should be level moving forward with this tech. We're going to flip over to the AF1 now. And the biggest news out of AF1 came late late last week, where the Wilkes-Barre Mavericks will not be participating in the 2025 season. The announcement was made later last week. I think it was like Friday night at like 8:45, 9 p.m. Eastern. So it was very, very late. It was announced that the Mavericks membership with AF1 has been terminated. I wrote a blog going further in depth with this. You can check it out at Off the Wall FB, F as in foot, B as in ball, offthewallfb.com. Cheap plug. But this is just unfortunate, and it's the way it went down is a little odd. So there was a quote from the Times Tribune in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where it said a quote from the article said, an overwhelming lack of local interest and sponsorship ultimately proved to be an insurmountable barrier. To me, that's a pretty damning quote for the situation. It kind of makes you wonder about the behind the scenes that led to this. Like, why was it this late in the process that they came to this decision and they realized, hey, this might not work? We're 3 weeks away from week 0. The local interest and sponsorship piece, that part of the quote makes it seem like they were dependent on sponsorships to get this thing off the ground, which usually isn't a good sign. In my conversation with league officials, it's my understanding that teams are independently owned and operated entities that have sole control over their daily operations. So a lot of trust is being put into these individual teams to be self-sufficient, which is great when you have Albany, Billings, Salina, Orlando, and there are other examples where they take the ball and run with it. Like, they're good, they got it. But it's less than ideal when situations like this arise with Wilkes-Barre, because there's a lot of trust being put into the teams doing what they need to do to be ready for the beginning of the season. And as evidenced by the way this went down, that just wasn't the case with Wilkes-Barre. So for this to happen this late in the process, it's another blow to the league, and it causes yet another schedule adjustment that just released on Wednesday. So if you're listening to this on Thursday, it came out yesterday. Go check out the AF1 socials. But I just feel bad the most for the players and coaches that were signed on with Wilkes-Barre. A lot of rosters across all of arena and indoor football for the upcoming seasons across all leagues, they're filled up for the most part because training camp has started. Like, they've got their guys and they've got their training camp bodies up to this point. So there isn't a ton of opportunity for them to join another league at the moment. They might be able to sign on and maybe when the season starts, be able to, find a way. But coaches also left other opportunities and were pretty blindsided by how everything went down towards the end here. I'm hopeful this is a big learning experience as well for the AF1 moving forward in terms of further vetting those expansion teams in the future. But in the immediate future, there are 10 teams slated to begin the AF1 season, and optimistic that all 10 will start the season and finish the season. But in the world of arena ball, you never know. Next thing I wanted to touch on was the Nashville Cats socials. They're alive. They're back. So Nashville Cats were another team that was a big will they, won't they question over the past 3-4 months, just because they arguably are the biggest market in the entire AF1, but there was nothing going on socials. The only social activity was them talking about the Titans gaining the #1 pick, which that's an entirely different subject. What we can touch on. Reach out to me on socials. I'll let you know how I feel about that. But seems like they've finally gotten their off the field issues resolved and should be making announcements very, very soon regarding head coaching, regarding ticket sales and all that stuff. Finally getting some type of sign of life from them is a good thing to see, especially with Commissioner Fisher having ties to the team. You simply cannot afford to have them, of all the teams, bite the dust. So we should be getting rapid fire announcements here very soon. And they're going to be an interesting one because with that schedule release, they got bumped up to a week 0 start. So not only are they late to the game in terms of social activity, in terms of announcing things, in terms of, building up hype for the season, their season start got bumped up a week as well. So they're going to be a week 0 game against Corpus Christi. So things are going to happen quick, fast, and in a hurry with the Nashville Cats. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like the Nashville Cats are going to be good to go to start the season. Expect to hear a lot of news very quickly over the coming weeks. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was we've got teams starting to report to training camp. So we've got players flying in, driving into where their teams are. We got the Orlando Predators, Southwest Kansas Storm. They reported this week. Seen some players from Albany traveling in. Corpus Christi, their camp started this week, so a lot of positive movement for the AF1. Hopefully, some of the nonsense with Wichita, Wilkes-Barre, Monterey, Stock, like all that stuff. We can leave that behind and save that for the offseason and really get down to playing some arena football, which is why we follow the sport, which is why we love the game. So hopefully we'll hear some positive news very soon, and we'll be able to build up some excitement for that week 0 coming right around the corner. And that's the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it on YouTube or listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you're liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with a friend. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, do the same thing. Like the episode, go rate the show, and then share it with a friend as well, someone that you think needs to get into arena football. So big thanks again to Bryce for joining the show. Please go give him a follow on socials as well. And while you're on socials, please make sure you're following Off the Wall at Off the Wall FB on Instagram, X/Twitter, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. That seems to get longer every week, but wherever you are, we try to be. So go give us a follow on there as well. Only 24 hours in a day. The fact that you chose to spend about 45 minutes watching, listening to this episode of Off the Wall means a lot. So we've got a lot of really positive things going on. We're rapidly approaching the start of the season. Week 0 of the AF1 is a few weeks away. The NAL is a few weeks away as well. The IFL is 30 days away at this point at the time of recording this. So super exciting time in indoor and arena football. Hope to hear some news out of training camp and see how things are going across the leagues, and I'm very excited to see where we go from here. So thanks for checking us out. We'll see you on socials. Take care. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.